Start the meeting, it's all up to you.
Bill, before we start, where is the public? Is this the forum that comes up here to speak?
Yeah, that's your call. I mean, technically they should come up here. The reality is let's see how aggressive the public really is.
So Dan's here. I don't know. Dan, what do you want to speak? You want to speak up front? You want to speak here?
Wherever.
Okay.
It'll be better on video, and remember that's what we do this for. Is for the people at home, so it'll be better over there.
We're not streaming live though.
No, we're not streaming live. And I'll move the flag in, so you know.
That's the flag we should
That's
use
the
for the
flag.
flag?
Yep,
The official.
the official flag. That's actually the flag that I left here last year. The last time we met here.
Still here, that's a good sign.
How many are you taking?
So we do have a quorum, and being that we want to be prompt, I think,
Yeah, technically you can have it. That's my last one.
so Bishop, I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Sure.
Given that we are prompt here in the village of Mamaroneck, right? Ben?
That's correct.
Okay. So, first I'll ask for roll call.
Okay. Mayor French,
Here.
Mayor Pagano, Mayor Rosenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Salanitro,
Here?
Commissioner Brett, not yet, and Supervisor Carvin is called. He's going to be about 10 minutes late.
Okay. Well, welcome to a meeting of the Rye Town Park Commission. We do this every second Tuesday of the month? Third Tuesday. Right, okay. I thought we pushed it back. I'm Mayor Doug French. Welcome. We are delighted to be in Rhinebeck High School, Village of Mamaroneck, as part of Rye Town today for this meeting. And I will ask Linda Wells to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of May will push back to the next meeting. We will have minutes.
Yes, you will.
Now, we had an open item for the minutes for April, but I don't know if we have people that were here for April to vote. So we'll defer that also to the next meeting, Bishop.
You could refresh my memory as to the open item.
April minutes, we didn't approve the
Oh,
first
right,
meeting.
that's correct.
So we'll do that next meeting.
Yes.
And let's, since we do have somebody from the Capital Committee, and we may have other members from the public, I'll defer comments from the public and ask Mr. Dantratiger to speak on the Capital Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would you,
Yeah. Great.
Yellow? Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Dan
We're
Tartaglia.
late when we started
I've
the
been working with Christina Beecher and other members of the Capital Committee on trying to move that agenda forward for purposes of trying to put together or at least seek out some form of public-private partnership that might help to either run Rye Town Park or run portions of Rye Town Park, but most of all contribute toward capital repairs and improvements, much of which has been deferred on some of the buildings for a long period of time. One of the things that we did since the last time I appeared before the Commission was put together an RFP for purposes of trying to retain the services of a planning consultant to assist the Capital Committee in as much as the town of Rye really doesn't have a planning department. We circulated that with the assistance of the town and received 4 responses back. Since the last commission meeting, I should say, the committee has had an opportunity to get together to review the proposals. Their responses from 4 very good planning consulting firms, and as I'm sure you might imagine, the variety of responses was somewhat wide. We had a response from a sole practitioner, and we had a response from a very, very large planning consulting firm. We broke it up into 2 pieces. Part 1 was assisting the committee for purposes of distributing the main request for proposal, receiving those responses back, helping the committee analyze them, producing a short list of possible proposals for purposes of the commission to consider. I think one of the other aspects that we asked them to consider was public meetings with stakeholders, neighbors, members of the public, in order to try to disseminate as much information as we could to those various parties and entities. And basically what we were trying to do was get the committee some help at the beginning of this process. Now, we knew that the cost involved with that would be somewhat sensitive, so we broke this up into two pieces so that the second part of this, the cost of the planning consultant, would be borne by whoever submitted the proposal and was considered to be the final candidate, if we do find a final candidate. Once seeker is invoked, we can get contributions from that entity to pay for the cost of the planning consultant. So we were really more concerned with the upfront cost of this, so we were trying to back end as much of the cost of it as we can, because we really know that our committee and the commission really has nothing in the budget for purposes of this. So the purpose of coming back this evening was to ask the commission, for appropriation, essentially. Otherwise, we really can't go forward with the selection of this planning consulting firm, and we're really kind of stymied as far as trying to move forward. Because even though we've got some very good volunteers on the committee, we really don't have a planner that's volunteering their time. So that's kind of where we're at and what we'd like the commission to consider.
So, Commissioner, since you are the liaison to the board, you want to comment?
Yeah, we met with the committee on June 8th, Saturday morning, to go over these concerns and also to try to qualify, how we move forward in terms of expediting the retention of a planner, professional planner, to really get the word out, to try to market the project as a real project, because we were concerned that there might be some illusion out there that we're just nibbling out there, and in fact we're not. We felt that the target budget for a planning consultant for phase one would be in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Subsequent to that meeting, we addressed the concerns that the committee had to the commission as a whole, and I assume everyone's received that as a recommendation to get off that target is to find a way to at least say that the monetary amount for planning phase one of 15 to 20 is reasonable, so that the committee can do their work, which is quite a bit of work. Has the committee entertained meeting with these planning RFP consultants?
No, we've held off. The reason we came up with that dollar figure is because we estimated that to get to this point, the committee probably has between 70 and 100 man-hours in of all the committee members combined. And we looked at the billable hour rate of most of these planning consultants, and we just did some simple math. If we need planning consultant somewhere between another 70 to 100 hours at $150 to $200 an hour, we figured that's where we came up with a $15,000 to $20,000 number. One of the things we're most concerned about is both the quantity and quality of the proposals we're going to be receiving. And two of the firms that we looked at very carefully, the committee feels would be very helpful to us in distributing the RFP to the widest and best qualified audience possible. Because we all have whatever contacts we have, and we can try to distribute it as widely as we try as a committee, but firms that deal with development companies, not-for-profits, educational institutions on a regular basis, we think would have a leg up in helping us distribute this to the widest and best audience possible. In fact, one of the firms is affiliated with an enormous architectural firm, and they, we feel that that one in particular and another one that's also of the same size would be very helpful to helping us distribute this to the widest audience possible.
Dan, do you think we need to postpone the receipt of those proposals? We talked about that, whether we were cutting ourselves tight if we don't have a planner on board to get to the widest audience. Do we want to push that date back a little further?
Absolutely, I think we should consider that.
Okay.
Because I don't think we want to put ourselves into a position where we get so few responses or such poor quality responses that we tear this whole thing up. There may come a point in time where we tear the whole idea up anyway, because it just doesn't work, it doesn't seem to get us the responses that we're looking for. But we want to at least give ourselves the best chance possible to try to move this to the next level.
Assuming that the committee, the commission moves forward with the budget for the RFPs that you received on the planners, do you think that from those planners that we received bids back from, we could get one firm to do the work that we need to have done with that budget that we talked about?
Well, there's certainly two that we feel are the most qualified, and by that I'm not meaning the other two are not qualified. I think two are the probably best qualified for this particular project was kind of the consensus that we came to. I have professional relationships with all four planning consultants, and I certainly could have conversation with them and say, look, here is what we think our budget is going to be. We know what you proposed. That's not in the cards. This is what we think we need. We'd like you to pare down your scope, cover just these bases, because this is what we think that the commission, would be able to fit into a budget.
So what would be the committee's next step, assuming that we could, get a budget for the planning consultant? Would it be to immediately meet with them to discuss that, or do you come back and say we need to push that date back?
Which date?
The date on the receipt of the
Oh,
main RFP.
We probably should push that date back anyway,
Okay.
just given the fact that it's already mid-June.
Okay.
Anyone else from the board have questions, or? Well, I'll just address the public. The issue is, we have the main building in the park, and has sat dormant and needs significant rehabilitation, millions of dollars. So there are two ways to go about it. One is to fundraise, and we're going down that path to see how much it would cost to rehabilitate the building and have some use there as it exists now, or have enter into an agreement with an outside company, similar to what Playland did. And to do that, our recommendation, or at least my recommendation with the commissioner, Salanitro, is you need a professional planner. When Playland went out, they had an entire planning department, legal department, they managed the whole process. We are just a body across multiple jurisdictions. This site happens to be in our jurisdiction. And when you're dealing with land use, you really need to do it right, because it's very sensitive in terms of the surrounding neighborhood, as well as the rules and regulations. So the initial RFP that went out for potential bidders, the response was low. And one of the roles of a planning consultant is to go out and find and solicit organizations. So, and given the nature of the changing nature of this body, with some of us getting off the board, the potential dissolution of Rye Town, this will be a long process, and I think we need a committee that we've established that's cross-jurisdictional, it's cross-functional, with people with different levels of expertise, to see this thing through in a professional way and act as an advisory board to this body to make the ultimate decision. So I think it's worthwhile that we go ahead, and we don't have the money budgeted, but maybe it should come out of operating, maybe it should come out of our capital fund, our ever-growing capital fund, or the two jurisdictions, Rye Town and Rye City, should invest that money, $15,000, $15,000 to $20,000, to do it professional and do it right. And so that's what I recommend to the committee.
And along those lines, we have a public document that's out there waiting receipt of companies, firms, if you will, to present their way that they see the vision of the future for Wright Town Park, at least the building. And if we don't have a serious push to get really, down to the wire with these guys, we'll never get anything done. So I totally agree that we need to establish the fundamental scale of economy here and at least start off on the right foot. We're also going to scrap the whole thing. It doesn't really seem like there's going to be enough enjoyment from the public out there if we don't have a serious planner in place first. So along with with Mayor French, I do agree that we should find the money to get this RFP rolling in the right direction.
I would agree, and I think that you've all articulated really good reasons for hiring a planner. I think if we needed an illustration as to why we need a planner, it's just the fact that the current proposals that have come in, well, I have no proposals that come in, but the people who have expressed interest are not as wide-ranging as we had hoped we were going to do this. Secondly, I think that the Rytown Park Commission and Rytown Park itself is in an interesting position because it is a multi-jurisdictional commission and park, and so there isn't a planning function for the commission itself. So if we want somebody to pay attention to this concept in the way that we really need to pay attention to it to make sure it's fully vetted, we do need to hire a separate planning consultant and somebody who's not identified with any one of our particular municipalities, but somebody who's separate and advising the commission independently. So I support hiring a planner in this instance.
I do as well. Thanks, Mayor. We all know by dealing with land use issues for our own municipalities how difficult and complex some of them can be. This one seems more complex than some of the ones that we would typically deal with in Rybrook, given the scope, the size, the amount of money, and the cross-jurisdictional issues that you're dealing with here. So I would totally support having a professional planner come in here from the process.
I don't think there's any other way.
Okay.
Did you find the funds? You find the funds?
We find the funds, yeah. And I think at the very least, we will have something in place that even if we don't move forward, we'll have something for future generations that can refer back to and say, you know what, they did vet this very thoroughly. There really is no opportunity, or there are opportunities, but these are the risks with those opportunities. So with that, I'd make a motion that we designate our capital committee to reach out to at least two of the vendors and talk to them about and have them rebid, correct, on what they think they could do for 50 to 75 hours, primarily doing the solicitation of this process, correct?
Yes.
So I would make that motion.
Second?
Roll call, please. Oh, I should put the dollars in there.
Right?
Not to exceed $20,000.
So exceed 20.
Not to exceed 20.
Okay. Before the vote, could I just ask a quick question? You alluded to either taking it out of operations or taking it out of capital. Is there any opportunity to recover those funds from some down the line project? I think as Mr. Tartaglia indicated.
Well, the phase two, Bishop, the first phase will probably be borne through our own
So
budget.
we're going
No
to
question.
Okay.
The remaining work, which is the yeoman's work, is going to be absorbed through the second phase. So we would have to at least have, this is a good faith start for us. And I'd also like to get the committee to recommend a new date sooner rather than later, so we can do an addendum for the project.
That'll be a separate vote.
Right,
Yes.
let's deal with the motion at hand, not to exceed 20K. Commissioner Brett?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosenberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Pagano?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
5-0.
And the reason why I said the capital fund is, you know, we budget a certain amount in the city of Rye to pay Rytown Park. If we don't use that up in operating, the excess goes into capital.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there'll be excess funds, whenever we budget this year, 50 or 75 in the city of Rye, that our contribution to the operating loss, there'll be extra to put into the capital fund. Okay? Good. So we also had another motion to extend or have the committee advise us on what the next date would be for the RFP itself, the main RFP?
Yes. That would be, it doesn't have to be done, you don't have to say the
Yeah,
date now, but
I would have to meet with the committee. And
we just want to give you authorization to, the committee authorization to have the date extended to a more reasonable date. You might have to vet that date out when you meet our planning consultant.
Yes, and then we'll obviously have to notify all of the responders who have already shown an interest, obviously, and push that date back.
Okay. What I'd like to do also on the subject matter, Mayor French had sent and distributed an email to the commission, as well as some committee members. It should be part of the record, because in there it outlines a lot of the important things that were discussed here tonight, and also moving forward. So we didn't want to leave the public,
Okay, we can put this in as an addendum to the minutes of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you,
Thank you
committee as
very
well.
much.
Thank you.
Before we get off the subject, and welcome to Supervisor Carvin.
Does the chair want to partake in the vote, or is that, can he add, I guess he didn't hear the,
We spent money in your absence.
There's just the planning,
yeah.
Yeah.
$15,000?
Not to exceed 20.
Not to exceed 20.
Not to exceed 20, okay, I'm on board, we talked about that before, and I apologize for being late. They say when it rains, it pours, and there's pouring rain out there, so lots of traffic on the way. So, yep, that's, I'm happy to vote.
All right, terrific. I
You're
did
in
want
favor,
to...
Mayor French, in favor?
Actually, the mayor's changed my mind, actually.
At the last meeting, one of the things that was asked for by the Capital Committee was to somehow copy the documentation. This is the any plans that we have, which we do have some of the historic plans of the main bathing pavilion. The actual restoration study, remember that was the 250-page document and so forth. We were successful in doing that. The files are very large. We did not put them on the internet because of that fact. But I do want to give the Capital Committee 3 copies of CD, which has all those files. And Dan, maybe I can give them to you, and you can. We can make more if the committee needs more.
Thanks, Bishop, that's good.
So we did not do comments from the public. I mean, I'm
You're
handing
waiting
over
for
you
me to
now.
hear it.
right?
No, you keep going, I think we got a record done, you gotta keep going. I'm on a roll, what do you think?
So we did the capital, let's jump back to comments from the public. Anybody from the public like to speak? Yes? Welcome.
They're this far, you might as well.
It's a nice place to have it.
Linda Wells, Friends of Rytown Park. Just a reminder, we're presenting a movie in the park on the 11th. Rain date is the 18th. It's the movie Big. There will be a magician in the park to entertain the young children before the movie starts, but bring a picnic, bring your lawn chair, and come and enjoy the evening. I also wanted to mention that we and Bill Lawyer have been meeting with Fraser of Bartlett Tree Experts, who are the arborists of the park, and reviewed some sorely needed work that needs to be done in the park. I don't know if the commission has exposure to those figures or not.
Yeah, they have them in their packet.
Okay. I just wanted you to know that Friends has had a board meeting and has approved sharing of these expenses. So I would hope that the commission will follow suit and approve the other half so that the work can in fact be done. It encompasses soil treatment and fertilization along the shoreline area where the trees have been most affected by the salt from Hurricane Sandy. And it includes some fertilization that was not done last fall because the storm hit just about the time that the fertilization would normally be done. So that's leg number 1, which Bartlett, upon your approval, is ready to do. Tomorrow. It's work that they feel should not be postponed anymore, and so that's leg 1. Leg 2 is a more comprehensive tree and shrub treatment plan. There are some trees that have been damaged from the storms that are salvageable but need work. There's pruning that needs to be done. There is a tree that needs to be, a maple that needs to be removed. And again, although it's not an immediate safety issue, they could become that in short order. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and hope that you're in a position to approve the work that needs to be done. I think the share is in excess of $4,000.
It's on the agenda for later on.
That's okay. I just wanted them to know. And that's basically it.
You want to take that out of order? You want to take that issue out of order?
Sure.
Since she's here?
Yep, why don't we go ahead and do that, this,
Linda?
Item number 8.
Get back in. Still can talk about this
Oh.
Yes.
while it's fresh in our mind.
Bill probably is in even a better position, I don't know. We can share. Go ahead.
Well, we're doing sharing. No, actually, one half, and then, but we're gonna do that. We're not gonna do phase 3. Just,
once you guys go.
go ahead. We, as Linda said, the two things that we are coming to you today about have to do with the fertilization and the salt removal, that's one, and then the pruning for safety and health of the trees to try to be proactive to avoid getting situations where trees get worse or become dangerous. There's a third phase which we aren't proposing for tonight, which was to remove a very large dead beech tree. So we're putting that off because although we can't keep it there forever, but it wasn't like a pressing issue, and we put it out to other bids because Bartlett, they do tree treatment, and so we felt we could get a better price by making competitive bids, and we've already gotten a number of bids which are well below what Bartlett suggested. So that will probably come back later with a request for that. So for right now, we're just looking for those two, which comes out to, I don't have exact numbers in front of me, but it comes out to somewhere in the area of $4,000 each. I think you can see the two are in your packets right now.
That's, I believe, 2650 and 2010.
There is one tree that they're taking down, the maple.
Yes, there's a dead maple up near Dearborn
Right,
and
southwest
Forest.
one.
It's a relatively small tree, and it doesn't have, this one up, the beech that we aren't including in this is a much larger
It's huge.
tree.
It's a two-day job, and in and of itself, that tree removal is $4,000. So
They did a lot of pruning last year, though. How much did we spend last year on tree pruning?
I don't have our aggregate figures.
Well, but they did do some pruning for us
They
last year
did.
because we had some safety concerns out
That
there.
was in the spring, and it was somewhere in there at $2,000 is very small.
Does this, to your knowledge, the work that they're doing now, proposing with the pruning, I'm just talking about pruning, how does that relate to the prior pruning? Is this something that was unanticipated, anticipated, or are we doing more work pruning on the same trees?
It's a little bit of both, because there was some storm damage to the trees. It's not necessarily broken branches, but there might be branches that are now not revivable from the storm. So those are things they might like to remove. There are two willow varieties at the far end of the duck pond that actually started to split, and they'd like to try to save those. So they need to be braced and shored, that kind of thing.
So I see you have there, it's a very detailed list of what they're going to do. And we have over 150 trees in the park, and
Actually,
obviously
the guess is closer to 300 trees.
Have they inspected them all?
No.
Oh, okay.
But we do a walkthrough, and you go through in the spring, and you see what's coming out and what's not, and so you try to prioritize in terms of which ones can be saved, and then which branches can be taken down. And so rather than spending a huge amount of money and trying to take care of everything all at once, we're doing it year in, year out, and of course nature has its own way of pruning things too. So we lost something like 8 or 10 trees during this sandy last year. So.
I would say my sense of it is that Bartlett is conservative in their approach. They're not looking to make a living at Town Park, and they really have actually given us a break on the pricing of the soil and the salt reconstruction because they feel it's that necessary to be done. We're basically paying for materials on that.
Right.
So they have an interest. They've been working in the park for years, and the contact that we have is an historic arborist. So he's very interested in this park and makes very sensible recommendations. I think too, our moving ahead with this tree inventory we talked about will be very insightful in terms of general condition of the trees and enable us to be very proactive in some management planning moving forward.
Well, that goes to my question, I think, I was getting at is, we don't really budget for this type of work, we probably should. If you have an aggressive plan that will scope out, future work, we may want to think about how we budget, because we've been scaling back our operations budget significantly over the years, and obviously maintenance is important, so maybe we have to do that for the upcoming budgets.
We do have an aggregate maintenance, if you will, maintenance operations budget that's somewhere in the $90,000 to $95,000 range, and we've tried to keep it there. These kind of expenses actually go in there.
I understand.
The Hurricane Sandy expenses, we line items separately because frankly, all of a sudden, tree expenses started to reach $20,000. So you'll see that when the audit comes out, you know, that all of a sudden you have this large chunk. Much of that money is being reimbursed to us by FEMA, so, you know, it doesn't necessarily have an operational impact.
Well, yeah, it's a bigger story. I'd like to, if we kept track of all this type of work, and you have like a 10-year or 5-year, you can easily say, you know, this is how much money we spent over X amount of years, to show the proactive approach, and we continue with that. If it just gets lumped into maintenance, sometimes as years go by, you don't know how much money we actually spent. I'm just, as a tool, that's all I'm suggesting.
We can easily do a vendor analysis, because there have only been about 3 or 4 different tree service vendors that have actually worked in the park. So it's a relatively easy thing to go back to.
Well, and also, the point you could say, the Friends, one of their priorities is to do a sort of a master plan for the trees, which would involve inventorying every single tree, and I guess a number of shrubs.
It's called an inventory, but you can basically capture about 200 fields of information about a single tree.
Right.
And actually to the point of giving it a dollar value based on a national recommendation from National Arborist Society, so that if we have a very limited budget moving forward, as does the park, we can spend our money a little bit more wisely in terms of our investing in the trees.
That makes sense.
All right, thank you. So is there a motion to pay that expense?
I'll make a motion.
You want to do them together?
We have invoice, we have proposals.
You have proposals here. There's $2,010 on the
On the salt extraction.
the salt and fertilization, and our share would be $2696.58
Yeah, let's keep them separate.
of the actual tree trimming, if you will. Okay?
Just before we vote, can I just ask a question? At what level do we need to get competitive bids at?
You should be getting bids anything over $500. The difficulty here is this is kind of a, well, the tree trimming is a separate issue, but the salt fertilization, we've been working with this same company now for about 5 years. They know the composition of the soil at Rytown Park. They know the way Rytown Park is used. There's an experience level there that I think very few other firms would be able to match. And
That was 20,000 though, right, Paul?
that's the 2,000.
20,000, I think,
Yes.
with the procurement.
Oh, yeah, from a civil,
Yep. Municipal law.
Right.
Anything over 20.
I think Bishop was referring to the Rytown policy.
Right.
So we as a policy matter, we generally broad. I think in this scenario where Bartlett has really been providing service for a number of years to the park, I think.
well, we do it in conjunction with the Friends.
Right.
In this particular case.
Right, so I think we should exercise our discretion along with the Friends and a group as Linda, you were saying, is not there to make a fortune on Rytown
No,
Park.
I mean, they didn't charge us for the soil analysis.
So they sort of, it's a friendly relationship. I think they understand the nature of the park. And so as a legal matter, I think Mayor Franchep should go to $20,000. I think as a policy matter, if we haven't had, if it's a new vendor, we probably would have gone out. Because over $500 we would get 3 bids as a policy matter. But since this is a group that's provided consistently good service, there's a knowledge of the park, they know the park, they know the trees and that kind of thing, so there's a bit of, it's a bit of a extended concern. So legally we're fine. But as a policy matter, I guess we're prepared to exercise some discretion.
So there's even a stronger argument here, and there's a preference by the Friends of Rytown Park to use Bartlett Tree Service. And since the Friends are contributing so substantially to the cost sharing, there's a deference that we have in terms of saying, fine, if that's what it takes to get you to give us half of the money, by all means, we're gonna allow you to do that.
Just one other, I guess one other comment is that I was glad to hear that based on the, for the tree removal estimate, that we are going to make bids on that.
Yeah, we already have 3 bids, for example. I think we're waiting on 2 more to come in.
So let's split them apart. All right?
Okay.
Take them separately. And again, friends, are you also paying for the both, half of both, or just the one?
The 2000, unfortunately, the way they presented it, they did it in 2 stages.
Right.
And the 2010 for the soil and
Yeah.
is your share. And we have, we
gotcha.
pay the same. The other one is an aggregate amount,
Yeah.
and in there, half of it is yours, half of it is ours.
So, Bishop, the motion on the one would be what?
Well, the motion on the soil care and fertilization in the amount of $2,010.
Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
I think Supervisor Carvin made that motion.
Second.
I'll make
Yeah.
the motion. I don't know.
Roll call?
Okay. And Commissioner Brett,
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro, Commissioner Rosenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Pagano,
Yes.
Commissioner French,
Yes.
Supervisor Carvin.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the next.
Then the next
proposal
one is for tree trimming and shrub work in the amount of $2,696.58.
Chair, like, motion on that?
Yeah, why not?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
Roll call?
okay,
50 cents.
all right. Commissioner Brett,
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro,
Yes.
Commissioner Rosenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Pagano, Commissioner French,
Yes.
Supervisor Carvin.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so that was item number 8. Thank you again to the friends.
Yes, thank you very much.
So let's go to item number 6, financial and operations reports.
Okay.
That's the Bishop or?
Yeah, I'll do my best here. In your packet, you have the budget as of the end of May. I can only tell you that on the revenue side, at the end of May, we're down to the tune of about $40-some-odd thousand. I think it was $47,000 against last year.
Bishop, for the people at home, could you tell what the numbers are?
Oh, okay, sure. Total revenue as of May 31st is $103,543, compared with last year's same time, $163,327. When you look at expenses in the aggregate, we are at $67,019 versus $94,631 in 2012. And when you look at, excuse me, I'm sorry, wrong number, I apologize. Expenses are $221,146 versus $260,646 in 2012. June has been interesting because June we recovered some of the shortfall on the revenue side. Last year's June was extremely poor, and this year's June is looking pretty much the same, but at least we had a few extra nice weekends at the beginning of June. So,
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
Again, so last year we had $163,327 in revenue.
at this period, that same period of time,
And this year we've had $103,543.
right?
So we're $60,000 short,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And so, which is obviously disappointing. Now, and so then, this says of May 31st, correct?
As of May 31st, that's right.
Now, we had $260,000 in expenditures last year, and this year we have $221,000.
Correct.
So we're $40,000 lower effective, more or less, in expenditures.
Correct.
So our net, net loss to last year is $20,000. So when you give your report, Mr. Gioffre, you want to hear how we managed to do this, but it sounds like you're doing a good job keeping expenses down in an environment where our revenues are off. So I just wanted to make that clear for people, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, but also, the reason why we're $60,000 in revenue is Memorial Day weekend was a washout. And last year, we had something like $60,000 in revenue that weekend alone.
Right.
And this year, we had $10,000.
Right. If you look at your Memorial Day statistics, we have an actual Memorial Day comparison.
The 3 days before were washed
You can see,
Yeah, Memorial Day was right.
just in looking at the unit counts, now we don't have revenue here necessarily, but if you look at the unit counts, I would ignore the permits, for example, but you look at parking, we had, for the 4-day period, you had 1,026 cars in there for this year versus 2,326 cars last year. I mean, each car is revenue as a general rule, so you're looking at least half, or less than half, actually. And the same thing on the beach. In fact, the beach numbers are even much worse, where we had 3,600 people on the beach for 4 days, compared with 680.
680, thank you.
So,
Well, say 6:45
Yeah.
today, so.
again, a large part of that was the fact that although it might have been sunny, the reality was it was cool. It was not really a hot day, and it just wasn't really that good a beach day.
I thought
So-
you talked to the governor about this. Good,
All right?
Thanks.
thank you, Bishop.
Park Director. Okay.
Hello. As Bishop mentioned before, we've had pretty rainy June, and it's really thrown us off quite a bit. But in spite of that, right after Memorial Day, we had a couple of really sunny days that we attracted a much larger crowd. Senior staff started off the year by preparing the park for opening day, and that required quite a bit of work on maintenance as a park. And they were the only department that we had a full personnel there. We watched ourselves with security, we watched ourselves with the parking kids, we watched ourselves with cashiers. So we were able to cut back on quite a bit of the manpower leading up to the opening day. We did quite a few things. We put the parking limit ropes up early. So far there has been no car that's gone beyond that. We haven't seen any rogue cars so far this year, right?
Excellent job.
We really, after the commission zeroed in on the dog problem, we did a couple of things. One was we put a number of signs at every entrance to the park, which basically said that dogs off leash would not be permitted. We were able to get our security guys to be very active in approaching them, always using the best of courtesy. But after a few days, they began, and I was keeping a record of these things and sending them over to the supervisor. After a few days, we found that the people that were off, dogs that were off leash, were putting them on leash, and we were down to 1 or 2 per day. And as our rangers approached them, they put them on the leash. So that's all after 9 a.m. Before 9 a.m., which we don't have any security there, all we have is maintenance at 6:30 in the morning, and they're basically cleaning the beach, cleaning the barrels and things. I'm told that there are a number of dogs off leash. Now that then becomes a Rice City problem, I would imagine. So from 9 o'clock on, we have almost 100% compliance, which is probably the best we've had in the 5 years that I've been there. We had a couple of graffiti incidents. We reported them to the police. Some vandalism, not very expensive. We were able to fix those things in-house. We repaired the lifeguard shack from the hurricane. We leveled our beach. I would like to say that we're in desperate need of sand, because the beach has gotten pretty rocky.